And so that's my only one critique of James English. I think his abs could be sharper from the front, that he could be a little bit more emptied out, a little bit drier in the abdominals. And listen, I'm not saying he's not shredded. He's probably the leanest guy in the show here. It's just when I look at this and I'm thinking him on an Olympia stage against the best physiques in the world, what would they want? They would want to be even leaner. Coach Greg, and the results are in. James English wins his first classic physique bodybuilding competition, and not only that, places second in men's physique. We're going to go over his prep as he gets ready to step on stage, his posing on stage, as well as his rebound that's going to be a nightmare following the show.
We have arrived at 1 day out.
And he's cut his water down to 6 liters. He didn't cut it out. And so what that tells me, he's going for more of a full appearance. Doesn't want to come in ultra shredded dry. If you drink more water, your muscles will in fact appear bigger. After all, your muscles are 70 to 80% water. However, it does come at a slight expense of some conditioning. And so it has to be a careful balance of how dehydrated do I want to get and at what expense can I sacrifice muscle size. And consider this, James about 5'8.5" tall, weighed in at 182.5 pounds. He quite literally is allowed to weigh in at 190. And so he's far under the weight class. And this is great news, as what it means is he's going to add a significant amount of more muscle and still make his weight class. And I do believe if he were to come in at the top of his weight class, that this guy could get an IFBB pro card. And at that point, as a pro, you can add 10 more pounds of muscle. And so at his heaviest, fattest off-season weight, 202 pounds. His lightest bone dry weight during peak week, just under 180. He weighed in at 182.5 pounds and was 184 on stage. And so if he were to add 10 pounds of muscle, he could quite easily make the 190 cutoff, carb up, show up perhaps be 194 pounds on stage. Imagine the difference that would make. Imagine this guy with 10 pounds more of pure muscle. Add to that, he could get even more dehydrated. Guy would be absolutely mind-blowing peel with tons of muscle, could easily earn an IFBB Pro card.
I woke up to this, okay?
Don't forget to subscribe to James English's channel. Also use code Joe on Gorilla Mind if you're interested in buying his product, supporting him.
What is code Joe?
And granted, at the end of the video, I said to use code Joe, but remember, at the start of the video, I did say use code JAM, of which most people are watching. Not everyone's staying around to the end of the video, and so I pinned a comment. I said the wrong code Joe at the end. It was code JAM. You guys think I make up people's names incorrectly? Think of it. I said code JAM and said code Joe. I don't know why I said that. My brain, it doesn't work half the time. I do the best that I can.
No carbs for the meal today. So we got some liquid aminos on here. At Kyle's request, he wanted more sodium.
And so it's the day before the show. He's only eating fats and proteins. He's carb depleting here. And what I like to do, it's 100% different. I would be doing the opposite. The day before the show, I'm trying to eat as many carbs as possible to try to increase muscle glycogen stores. Fats and proteins are not inherently great for carbing up, as they don't contain carbs and they don't fill up the muscle. They don't increase glycogen storage. And so perhaps he has a different way of doing things, eating carbs a bit earlier and then cutting them out as he gets closer to the show. Personally, I like to cut out all carbs leading up to the show and add them as I get closer. Different strokes for different folks.
It's crazy because the last video, I ate so much food. I went to bed like really full and very bloated. I almost like couldn't sleep because I was so bloated and full and I just could not eat another bite of food. And then I woke up starving.
And so the day before this, he ate an enormous amount of food. He was bloated, full, stuffed. And so he's already replenished his glycogen stores. And listen to what he's saying. I woke up the next morning starving. Despite having a huge meal, huge cheat, being full stuffed, he woke up starving the next day. And so a lot of people think, well, after the show, I'll just have a cheat and I'll just go back to my diet and I'll just maintain 5-6% body fat. Never works like that. You are going to be starving every single day following the show. Very, very difficult to keep your diet on point following a show. And so my recommendation is to eat the fewest amount of calories as possible following the show, as in don't let yourself go too crazy. And by the fewest amount of calories possible, I mean probably not more than 1,000 calorie surplus a day. Trust me, it is going to be a nightmare. Your ghrelin hormones through the roof. Now that the show is over, your body is saying, eat. What is wrong? You've been starving yourself for months. It's time to get fatter in the off season. And so slowly reverse diet by eating perhaps 500 or 1,000 calorie surplus a day and gradually increase your body fat. The worst thing you can do is just say, I'm going to eat anything and everything and gain 30, 40, 50 pounds in the month following the show.
And it made me realize that like reversing is going to be hard. My body is still recovering from 12 weeks of dieting. And you can't just fix that with like one cheat day.
Exactly. And one of the worst things you can do, and I see it all the time, all the competitors, they just don't know what they're doing. They stock up on all the junk that they haven't eaten for 3 months and they save it for after the show. You do not want to stockpile junk food because trust me, when it's sitting in the house, staring in you in the face, you could very easily go through 10,000 calories in one day just eating everything in sight. Once you open the floodgates, it is very difficult to shut them off. You start getting a taste of all the junk you haven't had for so long, you cannot stop yourself. It is hard. It's like something takes over you. Don't think I'm speaking from experience. Used to have extreme difficulty in stopping to eat following a show. First show, gained over 20 pounds of fat in the first month following the show. Could not stop eating. As soon as I had room for anything, I ate. Ate till I was stuffed every single meal, and then continued to eat as soon as I could fit something else in my mouth. And it was usually healthy food, followed by a bunch of turtles. The chocolate turtles, not green turtles.
I needed to get Tito's because the diuretics, a little bit of vodka.
Not a fan of drinking alcohol to help with the diuretic effect before a show. I've tried that in the past. Trust me, I've tried everything. I've tried getting drunk the night before a show thinking, well, every time I get drunk, I wake up shredded the next day. Wasn't the thing to do. I tried it. I was dehydrated, but felt like garbage, had a hard time posing on stage. And so rather than consuming alcohol to help with the diuretic effect, if you're actually on PDs, well, you're probably just going to be using real diuretics in the first place. And so why would you resort to using alcohol? And I'm not telling people to go out and get diuretics. I'm just saying what I've done in the past and what most competitors are doing.
I didn't get different sheets for the bed, and my spray tan came off.
And so in case you're new to this, when you get a spray tan, it comes off on everything. Your clothes are going to be completely ruined. Bed sheets, pillowcases, everything. You usually need 2-3 layers. It's going to go right through the first layer, easily go into the second. And so highly recommend you bring old clothes, old sheets to the hotel room because you're going to ruin everything you touch.
The room is an absolute mess. We got plates, paper plates, we got plastic utensils, metal utensils, we got our skillet over here, got black coffee, salt, honey, chips, vodka.
Bodybuilding, the healthiest of sports now, isn't it? And so meal one, show day, eggs and bacon. Personally, I'm 100% against this. Sorry, just telling you what I do. I do the exact opposite. I believe you should be eating carbs. Carbs are what stores glycogen in the muscle. If you eat eggs and bacon, those are very slow digesting foods. Fats and proteins take longer to digest than fast-acting carbs. And so, for example, if you were to eat rice cakes and a banana, that would absorb much quicker. If you eat eggs, bacon, steak, it's going to sit in your stomach. And what your goal is as a competitor is to have the smallest waist humanly possible. Think of it. Do you want to have bloating? Do you want to have food sitting in your stomach? Or do you want to be completely pancake flat when sitting up on stage, doing that vacuum pose? Think of it. You're doing a vacuum. You want absolutely nothing in your stomach. And so I'm not a fan of eating fats and proteins. Why are we eating protein at this point? You're not building muscle the day of the show. This is irrelevant. What you do need is glycogen. And so I'm a fan of eating carbs the night before the show, eating a shit ton of carbs the morning, holding back a little bit because you don't want to be bloated. But hey, that is just me. This is what's working for him. And so what he's eating here on show morning, this would be the exact type of meal that I would want a client to eat during peak week as they're carb depleting. Deplete the body of carbs completely for about 3 days. After that, add carbs in there. Your body can then super saturate itself with carbs. You can, in fact, store much more carbs after you've gone without them for a few days. So you deplete your body of glycogen, cut out the carbs, lose a ton of weight, and then add in the carbs after. That way you can compete shredded, dry, and full come show day.
Got 160 grams jasmine rice, 4 slices of bacon, and 4 whole eggs.
And so what is happening here? The rice is going to absorb and give him some glycogen, and the rest of the meal is going to sit in his stomach.
I was like, are you 1,000,000% positive I'm not doing my routine in prejudging? And he said, I think so, but let me just reach out to someone that's at the show and make sure.
And so, word of caution, it's very important to know what you're going to do further on than a few hours before you go on stage. And when you're doing a competition for classic physique, what we as the judges do is we watch you come out on stage and you pose for 30 seconds at random. You just hit some poses. They play some random tunes and you hit some poses, your best poses, whatever you look good in. You're trying to say to the judges, look at me, I stand out more than those guys. I'm the one you want to look at when we get compared side to side. And so you watch the guys come out and they do their poses and you remember, wow, that James guy, he looked friggin' nuts. I can't wait to see him against that other guy who also looked nuts. That guy wasn't very good, probably gonna be last place anyway. I'm not gonna look at them until later on. And so as I'm watching James going through some poses early on the morning, I do believe he spilled over a little bit. He does appear to be holding a little bit of water, although he's still shredded, of course, but I do believe he could be even leaner than this. But why bother? Guy's clearly gonna dominate the show regardless. But in the future, going for a pro card with more muscle, I do think he should probably dry out a little bit more. Perhaps instead of 6 liters of water the day before, cut that down to 2. That will allow him to be drier, leaner, harder than last time.
And then we got our Dunkin' Donuts muffin, which
cooked
on my stomach last time. So we'll see how it treats my stomach this time. But then I just have this and some water, and I'm pretty sure that's it. Then I just pump up backstage and prejudging starts.
And honestly, it makes me a little bit nervous. I wouldn't recommend eating something that cookbooked up your stomach previously. If you have experience with eating something and it caused you indigestion or certain problems, it's better to avoid those. But I do agree with eating some form of carbs, perhaps an hour or 2 before getting on stage. Enough time so that it can absorb those carbs, get you a better pump, but still be out of your stomach. The last thing you want, as stated previously, is to be bloated. And so please don't ruin it the day of the show. I've seen so many people, they overeat, eat a big meal thinking, I'm gonna look full. Yeah, but at what cost? Your muscles, your chest, shoulders, all that looks bigger. But if you have a belly sticking out and you look pregnant, people are gonna say, oh, GH gut. Meanwhile, you just had too much friggin' food for breakfast. And so just imagine how good this tastes to him right now. He's been dieting for months, being able to finally carb up. It's amazing. And all too often, I've seen people blow it. I give them foods. I'll say, hey, here's foods to carb up for the next 2 days. Gone in 15 minutes. They can't stop themselves. These are national level bodybuilders. They have extreme willpower and they want to win, but once you're presented with that food, it is hard to stop. And so please, don't get too much junk. Don't get too much food. Don't have it available. Once you start the carb up process, a lot of people, they can't stop. That is one of the reasons why I save it till the last minute. I much prefer having people start their carb up on, for example, Friday morning, eat carbs all day on Friday when they compete on Saturday. Others, they prefer to carb up slowly over 3 days. I've seen that ruin so many physiques that it's just simply not worth it. Although it can work, it's just opening up more can of worms, more problems. A lot of people, they start carbing up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By the time they get to Thursday, they've already eaten way too much. They start spilling over. They can't dry out. They're bloated. They just don't look as good. In comparison, if you wait until Friday, you haven't had any carbs, your muscles is like a sponge. It can suck in everything. You eat 5,000 calories of carbs, no problem. Give them to me. Muscles swell up. You cut out your water. You cut it out cold turkey. Don't keep drinking 6 liters of water. And you're bone dry and full the day of the show. To me, that is the best method. Way better chance of peaking and looking on point. I've had a number of people turn IFBB Pro win shows using this method. It's what I've done all the time. Never Never once have I ever missed my peak on stage. And so to me, it's a foolproof method. Doesn't mean you have to do it this way. It's just other ways they're more risky than last time. Number 45, James English about to hit some poses on stage. Let's see how he looks. And walking out on stage, you can see the thickness, the fullness. Guy looks well balanced, really conditioned. Small waist, wide shoulders. Look at the conditioning, the biceps, the shoulders, the pecs, quads, everything on point. What I really see is the guy has balance. Top to bottom, everything on point. Great looking side chest. Look at the obliques. Hits a tricep pose, and the twisting back double bicep looks amazing. Look at this guy's physique. And from the rear, yep, you can see it. The hamstrings are coming out. Guy's condition looks amazing. I get those shoulders a little bit higher here. Still looks great. Turns around to the front, feathered quads. And here's the abs. Abs can be a bit tighter, vacuum a little bit stronger than this, perhaps a little bit food in the stomach, hard to say, but overall at least a 9.5 on 10 performance here in his first ever time on stage. Great job, James English. And standing with the rest of the lineup, he looks like he's simply outclassing these guys. Leaner, better conditioned, and more muscle. Posing on point, you can see just a small waist, how much it makes a difference. Look at those obliques to the side. Looks amazing. Absolutely looks to be dominating this class. It should be a clear and obvious victory for him. In particular, the quads, his best body part. Feathered quads top to bottom, great conditioning. Favorite classic pose, arm over the head. Checking out the biceps. Great potential physique for an IFBB Pro card in the future. Just needs to add those 10 pounds of muscle. And from my estimation, I think he could do so in approximately 2 years. You're thinking, oh no, it's just his next show. It takes time to put on quality muscle tissue, and he's admittedly not natural at this point. And so if you want to put in the quality muscle, it could in fact take 2 years to do so. After all, Anthony Mantello has been training an entire year, added 5 pounds of rock hard muscle from last year. And so that's my only one critique of James English. I think his abs could be sharper from the front, that he could be a little bit more emptied out, a little bit drier in the abdominals. And listen, I'm not saying he's not shredded. He's probably the leanest guy in the show here. It's just when I look at this and I'm thinking him on an Olympia stage against the best physiques in the world, what would they want? They would want to be even leaner. I know it's crazy. Leaner than James English. He's got feathered, zippered up quads, but in the stomach, it could be even more shredded than last time.
Dude, that was the hardest posing I've ever done. I was posing for like 2, 3, 4 minutes straight. Because they were like really checking us out. My legs started to shake at one point.
Exactly. Posing, people think it's easy. You just stand there and relax. Look, even when you're relaxed, you're flexing everything. And so they held him there for a long time. He's competing in multiple divisions. It's hard. You do the novice, you do the open, you do men's physique, classic physique. The more divisions you do, it's hard. But listen, you've dieted for friggin' months. May as well milk it. Every moment on stage, please cherish it. It takes so much work. It's like climbing Mount Everest. You finally got to the top. Don't just run down. Stay there. Jump up. Plant the flag. Be like, I own this friggin' mountain. I'm going to win this show. And so my advice, if you are going to compete in every friggin' category that you can. Do them all. Because after the show, you can't go back in time and say, oh, I wish I would have done men's physique. Maybe I would have won that. I wish I'd done bodybuilding. Perhaps I would have won middleweight body, whatever. Do them all. Work on your posing. Practice harder than last time. Stay in shape year round, not shredded shape, just in shape. Do your cardio. Don't give up. That way, when you go to a show, if you practice your posing, you can handle it. And James, he was able to handle it. He practiced posing.
Honestly, I haven't practiced men's physique posing at all. I'm pretty sure it's just put out like this.
He did very well in classic physique, but listen to him. He didn't practice men's physique, and most likely, had he practiced, been on point, he would have won that as well. Anthony Mantello, he's won them all. He's won both shows overall in both. James English, I do believe, has similar potential to Anthony Mantello. I think he could win in both. He just needs to work on his posing a little bit more, and he could win both. And so you can see, before going up on stage, you're doing a bunch of push-ups and side laterals. You're getting a pump. Think of how much better you look after you get a pump than before. And so if you just walk out and do your posing without getting ready for it, you won't even look close to as good. If you're thinking about competing, remember, it is hard. It is a lot of work. But if you're passionate about it, it's something you want to do, highly recommend you do it at least once in your life. Before you go, a reminder, the hard copy versions of the cookbooks and the training books and the Circle Diet book, that's all available. Click the link in the description. Also, Harder Than Last Time supplements, you can get those. Click the link in the description. Free training programs by becoming newsletter subscribers. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Don't forget to watch the bloops. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Also, don't forget training plans by me and my team. That's right. You can get plans specific to your weight loss and muscle building needs written by me and or me and my team, depending on the package that you're getting. And until next time, I am out. Oh,